Hi, Steve Neff from Neff Strategies. I'm here today to talk to you about evidence. I talk a lot about the importance of being able to build strong cases and layer your proof when you're in court, and that skill is actually more important than all of the sexy trial advocacy skills that so many people are teaching out there. If you put together a strong case built strand by strand, you're going to win. So, how often do we hear the phrase, oh, that case is weak, it's just circumstantial? If somebody told me that my case is weak because it's circumstantial, I'm saying, no, so what? So what that it's circumstantial? Circumstantial cases can be extremely powerful. So, I'm going to give you an example of that today. Let's make up a fictitious scenario in which there's a murder. And the victim is a man named Daniel Reeves, who's a mid-level real estate developer. He's found dead in his home due to blunt force trauma. There's no witnesses, no obvious murder weapon. The house shows no signs of forced entry. At first glance, there's no suspect. So let's start putting together a case based on what the police discover piece by piece. And at some point in there, you're going to tell me, I think, that we have proven the case beyond a reasonable doubt without a single shred of direct evidence. So the first piece, there's a minor financial dispute. Reeves had recently ended a business relationship with his partner, Michael Carter. Emails showed tension between them, nothing overly threatening, just frustration over money owed. Do we have enough to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt that Carter is the murderer? Of course not. But let's move on to piece number 2, phone activity. Cell tower data shows Carter's phone in the general neighborhood the night of the murder. Carter claims he was driving around to clear his head. On its own, it's not unusual. He lives about 20 minutes away. Putting those two pieces together, it's starting to get interesting, but there's no question that it's not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Let's move on to piece 3, deleted message. A forensic analysis recovers a deleted text from Carter to Reeves sent hours before the estimated time of death. And the text said, "We need to settle this tonight." On its own, yeah, I mean, it could mean anything, but now we're starting to add it to some things, and perhaps we're developing the profile of a suspect. Piece number 4, clothing fibers. Investigators find dark wool fibers on Reeves' clothing. Carter owns a dark wool coat, but of course, so do 1,000 people. Again, innocent fact by itself, starting to add to the other 3 elements, and it's getting more interesting. Piece number 5, security camera glimpse. A neighbor's doorbell camera shows a person walking toward Reeves' house around 9:12 p.m. The image is grainy. The height and build are consistent with Carter, but not definitive. You can't see his face. Moving on to piece number 6, inconsistent timeline. Carter initially tells police that he was home all evening. Later, confronted with phone data, he changes his story, saying he went out for a drive. Interesting. Piece number 7, a recently cleaned car. Carter's car shows signs of very recent, though thorough interior cleaning. Traces of diluted blood are found in the trunk, too degraded for DNA testing. Piece number 8, missing item. Reeves kept a heavy decorative sculpture in his living room. Now it's missing. Carter owns a similar sculpture, but his shows faint signs of recent washing and minor damage. On its own, coincidence is possible for sure. Piece number 9, footwear pattern. A partial shoe print near the body matches the general tread pattern of a common brand Carter owns. Not unique, millions of them are sold. On its own, a weak match. Behavioral detail. In the days after the murder, Carter searches online for how long does DNA last on fabric and cell tower ping accuracy. On its own, curious, but certainly it's not illegal. So individually, each fact thus far is explainable, but together they're starting to form a narrative. So let's move on. Let's look at some more pieces of evidence. Layer 1, Carter stood to lose a pending $750,000 deal Reeves had just canceled. Reeves had also filed paperwork earlier that day removing Carter from a joint LLC, and a draft civil complaint found on Reeves' laptop accuses Carter of financial misconduct. Individually, it's just a business fallout, but together, financial, legal, and reputational pressure is converging in a single day. Layer number 2, pre-incident behavior. Carter withdraws $5,000 cash that afternoon, unusual for him. He turns off his phone for a 42-minute window that night, the first time in 3 years, according to phone records, and his GPS-enabled car app is also disabled during that time window. Odd, but explainable. Together, we have a deliberate blackout period, it looks like. Layer number 3, the meeting that wasn't supposed to happen. Reeves' calendar shows no scheduled visitors, yet his home alarm system was manually disarmed at 9:08 p.m. using the keypad, not remotely. Carter previously knew the entry code from past visits. Individually, someone with access entered. Together, shows a known and expected visitor, not a stranger. Digital breadcrumbs. Carter's phone reconnects to the network at 9:47 p.m. near Reeves' neighborhood. His car's internal system, separate from the app, logs a door opening at 9:50 p.m., parked 0.2 miles from Reeves' house. A fitness tracker shows Carter's heart rate spiking sharply between 9:15 and 9:35 p.m. These are individual technical data points, but now we're starting to develop a timeline consistent with confrontation and exertion. Layer number 5, physical evidence transfer. Reeves has microscopic paint flecks embedded in a wound, consistent with Carter's car trunk interior. Carter has a faint bruise on his forearm, consistent with defensive contact. Reeves' DNA is found under Carter's fingernails, but degraded and partial. Each could be explained away. They've known each other for a long time. But together, it sounds like strong evidence of a close physical struggle. Layer 6, the missing weapon. The missing sculpture from Reeves' home is traced to a similar piece Carter purchased years earlier. Receipts show Carter bought a replacement sculpture 2 days after the murder, same model. Trash pull at Carter's home reveals packaging foam consistent with that item. Individually, coincidence, redecorating, together. Wow. Have we gotten beyond a reasonable doubt yet? It's getting pretty strong. Layer 7, trace evidence that narrows coincidence. Soil found in Carter's car matches a unique mineral composition from Reeves' backyard, a rare clay mix. A single dog hair found on Carter's coat matches Reeves' dog's DNA profile. Carter does not own a dog. This now places Carter specifically inside that environment. Post-incident behavior. Carter's phone shows multiple searches. Can deleted text be recovered? How long for blood to degrade? He texts a friend at 11:12 p.m. that night saying, craziest night of my life, then deletes it. He schedules a car detailing for 7 a.m. the next morning before police even publicly announce the homicide. This is starting to sound like consciousness of guilt, isn't it? It indicates knowledge of a violent event before a public disclosure. Layer number 9, the timeline lock. Neighbor's camera shows a figure arriving on foot at 9:10 p.m. Another camera 3 streets over shows Carter's car parked and later leaving at 9:52. Estimated time of death, between 9:20 and 9:40. Individually, circumstantial placement. Together, Carter is present during the exact window of death with no credible alternative explanation. Layer 10, the statement collapse. Carter first claims he never saw Reeves that day. Then he admits texting him. Then he admits driving nearby. Finally, he says he considered stopping by, but didn't. Each revision aligns only after police reveal new evidence. So he hasn't made a confession. There's no piece of direct evidence that we would call here that's contributing to the analysis, but his staggered admissions made only after he's confronted with contrary evidence is becoming pretty powerful. Layer 11, financial aftermath. Within 48 hours, Carter attempts to access joint business accounts he previously ignored. He also contacts a mutual client, claiming Reeves had backed out permanently. Again, this is behavior consistent with anticipating Reeves' absence. Why does all this become overwhelming? At this point, this case isn't really about a lot of suspicious things. It's a closed loop. We have motive that peaks that day. We have opportunity that is precisely timed. We have access that explains entry without force. We have digital evidence that fills in movement and activity. We have physical evidence that shows contact and struggle. We have trace evidence that ties him to the exact location. We have behavioral evidence that shows concealment, and we have statements that evolve only when contradicted. Each category reinforces the next one. It's like a single strand of rope by itself is not very strong, but when you tie them together, it becomes extremely powerful. To believe Carter is innocent, you'd have to accept multiple independent coincidences, all pointing in the same direction at the same time. He just happened to be there. He just happened to fight with the victim earlier. He just happened to leave trace evidence. He just happened to clean everything immediately. He just happened to lie repeatedly. He just happened to search incriminating topics. At some point, this moves on from coincidence and becomes a reasonable explanation. So the power isn't really in any single act. It's in the convergence of them. It's in the different types of evidence from independent sources, all aligning on the same narrow window of time with no competing narrative that fits all the facts. As we used to say in our office when a defendant had all of these kinds of pieces of circumstantial evidence aligned against them, we used to say, well, he's either guilty or he's the most unlucky person on the face of the earth. Don't believe it when people say circumstantial evidence is weak. It's not. It's just as powerful and sometimes more powerful than direct evidence because, for example, direct evidence might involve witness testimony, and witness testimony has to be believed in order for it to be effective. So if you don't believe the witness, even though it's, quote, direct evidence, then it means nothing. It's not powerful at all. So sometimes a circumstantial case can be far more powerful than a direct evidence case, and my charge to you is to find ways to layer proof with all of these kinds of pieces of circumstantial evidence so that you have put together a strong case with combined sources of information and evidence from independent sources. So that's my advice today in my discussion of circumstantial evidence. Let's talk about it.